afternoon here on the East Coast, everybody. Thanks for joining us for our South Florida Regional Luxury Call. I am Mark Olesh, the Regional Director. It's good to see so many familiar faces. We've got another great guest this week for you. We're going to share that with you in just a little bit. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Kathrin Rein. Kathrin, hello. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you? Welcome to the call, everyone.
Yeah, last time I saw you, you were in, I think you were in a Renew, Energize, Donate shirt or something similar at the command center in Fort Myers.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, tell us what you did there, because you went out and explored a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah, it was quite emotional. I came to the West Coast to hand out gift cards to people that have lost their home and water, and it was an emotional roller coaster because I had never seen anything like that. I mean, we had hurricanes in Miami too, but to drive up to trailer parks and see people standing on the street and crying, and some of them didn't even take a gift card and said, give it to someone else that needs it more, it was hard to digest, I have to say.
Yeah, well, it's pretty dramatic, right? Because people literally had their past, present, and what feels like their future wiped out. Fortunately, at KW, we have KW Cares, which has been around a long time. Sometimes I think we leave the family reunion or mega camp because we think we've got to get home, we've got production, we've got things we've got to do, and we miss the inspirational breakfast. We miss so much of what Mo Anderson always shares, and it's so important when it happens in our neck of the woods, and it happens all over the country, right? Which is why we have KW Cares.
It's
so
the most
Mo
important
Anderson
part, I think. I mean, you really got to stay for inspirational breakfast because that is the reason you're with the company.
Yeah, that's what we see again here in the last couple of weeks, right? And as we move forward and help all of our West Coast recover, just the brilliance behind what Mary Tennant and Kathy Nye and Mo Anderson and Gary Keller and some of the forefathers of our company have put together for us. You get calls, when you're in this regional post, you get calls from New York and Louisiana and Texas, and Canada has come down, and MAPS and Bold, and every corner of the world has really participated in sharing some of the powerful pieces that have helped us recover. We had a command center in Fort Myers, and we had another hub in the Punta Gorda Park Charlotte area, but it covered the entire West Coast. A lot of these people on the call, a lot of the people on this call help participate in what's happened. And we just thought it might be interesting to take a minute to share some of the numbers and some of the power of what KW Cares is really all about as we see our people recover on the West Coast. Look at these numbers of things that came in. We got almost 1,500 generators purchased for distribution and gave away nearly 1,000 of them. 974 have been distributed. Now, what do we do with the 518 that were left? We're storing them in Florida for a future need. And as we know, with these storms, that need could be in Atlanta or North Carolina or somewhere to the north, or it could be down here again in the south. But we know that's inevitable. It will hit somewhere and we'll lose power. So we've got the generators stored up here in Tampa now. Emergency grants are available to people through KW Cares. We've granted 458 of those to the tune of $1.57 million. And we also have vendors that help people with clearing some of the initial muck and debris away from their homes, getting roofs tarped and safe so that they don't leak anymore. We handled 99 of those houses through vendors for $375,000. And when you look at the approximate total amount spent on disaster relief through Hurricane Ian with KW, it's $3.3 million. And Kathrin, as you saw from just your time on the West Coast, there's nobody else that's doing this, right? It's a culture like no other.
No, there was really people that looked at us and they're like, where are you coming from? Why are you doing this? They couldn't understand why we would do this. People were literally crying, and we wanted to make sure that we address people really that needed it. And we asked them, do you live here? And people would say, I used to. And it was just really heartbreaking and heartwarming to be able to do that and to be part of something bigger and to use the funds from KW Care to help others. And I think this is a big value that we have here in the company. There's just always somebody that cares.
Yeah. In addition, we've had gift cards come in and cash donations coming online. The gift cards total over $26,000, and there's more coming in. 91,000 in money donated online for a total of $117,468 that have been donated. And this money is very much needed because, as we said, people have lost a lot. We had a beach office on Fort Myers. Many of you in the region have probably seen that. Tom and Karen Swanbeck have had that office for years. Tom was in a building near the beach on the back bay, and he could hear the wind swirling, but he had the shutters on his windows. So it was pitch black. And when he came downstairs the next day, the water that had reached 15 or more feet high had receded. And what he saw was his office was gone. The office that he had gone to for the past decades had been removed. All that was left was the cement steps. And when he thought he would find the office blown to bits, he actually saw it just shoved completely across the street back behind a church. So you can imagine not only having your home, but really your business building that you worked out of, and then your business livelihood, because you've served that community for so long, just devastated. All of this money will be so well placed with people who are just putting pieces back into place so they can move forward. And we will do it because we always do. We've done that through Hurricane Harvey in Houston and through other disasters in Louisiana and White Sulphur Springs when they flooded over in West Virginia, and Joplin when they had a horrific tornado rip through there. So it's one of the hallmarks of our company. It's actually the backbone of our company, Kathrin, as you said, that KW Cares is the agency and the group, really the people in the company that help put our family back together.
Exactly.
So we wanted to share that with you, just let you know that we appreciate all that you've done, whether it's on this call or you're part of the MAPS group or you're part of the BOLD group or you're part of any of the other areas that have helped contribute to this. It's making a big difference in lives as you experienced, Kathrin.
I also want to say thank you to everyone that donated to the event. We did the online event. We had 13 speakers and we raised, I believe we're now at $280,000. I think Natasha Tello was also part of it. And it's been a great event to, replenish the funds for KW Cares. So thank you to everyone that has been part of that as well and donated.
Yeah, it's terrific. The Pivot community has contributed to it in a big way. So James Shaw and his group are grateful to them as well. So, all right, we'll continue that and we'll keep you posted in the months that go along. We want to talk luxury today, right, Kathrin?
Sure, absolutely. Let's talk some luxury.
All right, so let's look at the numbers, give you an update on that. So first, we'll share the numbers that you can find on the KW site from January through the end of September. 23,000 listings sold for $38.3 billion. Buyer closings, 24,000 plus for $42 billion. Total luxury closings, 47,897 for a total volume of $80 billion. Transactions involving referrals, that's a lot of sixes. Makes me a little queasy there, Kathrin, but 6,000 for $14 billion in referrals. And then agents who have transacted business, 23,000. So some pretty strong numbers still, Kathrin.
Absolutely. And when you look at the volume, like 1/3 of the buyer closings, it has been referrals. When you look, it's the referrals, is listings and buyers, right? I assume. So then we're looking at probably 15% of the volume is referrals and 25% of the, 50, I would say almost the same on transactions. So I would say 15% of everything is referrals. So you really gotta take care of your referral partners. It's very important to have
it's part of the
relationship.
Yeah, it's part of the great thing about being in the luxury community is the referral opportunities and meeting other great agents like the ones on this call. We also want to show you what's happening though by quarter, because it's another really interesting chart here. If you look at the numbers by quarter and what's happening, you can see that over the last year, we have been picking up steam in every quarter. And suddenly in the third quarter, we see a little bit of shift. If you look at the red third quarter there, the number of transactions has gone from 16,000 plus last year to 14,000 plus this year. And the number of agents has gone from 15,000 to 14,900. So it's down just a little bit. but it's the first sign of a little bit of trending down in there, Kathrin. And that's what you were talking about. We wanted to just hit on that point to begin, right? Because it's an important part of being aware of what's happening in the marketplace.
I think, I have a lot of people that come up to me and ask me for advice, and I have a lot of agents that are seeing the shift very strongly. So I think it's important to always look at your numbers. I looked at mine this morning, and I really got to put in more hours and lead generate better. Because my numbers look very similar to what you see on this graphic. And I want everybody to put in the chat that sees a shift in their market, especially on luxury listings. Please put a yes so we can see. And, when you look last year, it's been pretty even quarter, second and third quarter. Now we have, what is it, like a 25% decline? That is significant. And I do think it's going to get even worse. So you more than ever now, you got to stay in touch with your clients, know your numbers, and lead generate. So I'm seeing a few hands, yes, from people. Who else is seeing a shift in their markets? Yes, 2 people only. Okay, well, you're the lucky ones that I guess the rest that is not. Yes, here, there's more. Yep, everybody's seeing a shift in their markets. Put it in the chat. And then I would also like to know, put in the chat, what are you doing in order to make sure you have enough business for the next months to come, so that we can mastermind on that. And, also ask questions to Steve, who's going to be on our mastermind.
Yeah, it reminds me too, Kathrin, that I was looking at Facebook last night, and Gary Keller posted 21 hours ago that we wrote in Shift, success is never about the chosen few, but about the few who choose. And that's what this call is all about, right? Choosing to thrive in a skills-based market, which is really what we're going to experience and starting to experience, as opposed to what we experienced before, where business was falling from the sky. This actually is to the advantage of the realtors that are on this call, because they're the ones who have the education and are able to serve people at a high level, right?
Exactly. Agree with you 100%. And it's not easy. I mean, I was just talking to my showing partner here, and the last 2 years it was so easy to sell a house and to convert a buyer, and we didn't even have to put in any effort. And now you really actually have to work. So that will also show who is a really good realtor. So let's see what the next months bring. I see a lot of opportunity if you choose to do the work.
Yeah, Keller Williams has always done really well in market shifts for all those reasons. So that's part of why we have our guest today, and we're super excited to have Steve with us.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, everybody, welcome Steve. He is an amazing referral partner of mine and an amazing agent in California. Well, with further ado, I don't even need to introduce him. Steve, why don't you introduce yourself, where you work, your production, and then we'll go from there.
Well, first of all, thank you everybody for having me. This is a great looking group, and I know you guys are more located on the East Coast of Florida, but my heart's gone out to everybody in Florida. Just because maybe you guys weren't hit directly doesn't mean that you haven't all touched somebody that's been impacted greatly, even if you haven't driven over there like Kathrin and been the water fairy with her magic fairy wand. But anyway, my heart goes out to you guys. We have no shortage of those kinds of disasters. And a quick note about KW Cares. We had a very serious fire years ago, and followed by a ridiculous amount of rain, which doesn't happen in California. We had mud flows and people died. A bunch of people died. 23 people or something died. But KW Cares as well. Our KW office has put on our KW Care shirts, and we went out Super Bowl Sunday and we dug out a Coldwell Banker's house out of the mud. There's 4 feet of mud in the house. And even those people, I'm like, where's Coldwell Banker, man? Your house has 4 feet of mud in it. Where are those guys? Yeah. So it just, anyway, it's not the question you asked me, Kathrin, but I was kind of touched by it. We're talking about. Anyway, I'm Steve Epstein. I head up the Epstein Partners, Keller Williams Realty, Montecito, Santa Barbara. We cover the entire south coast of Santa Barbara County up into the Santa Ynez Valley, which is our wine country. And we're the very top of Southern California. Los Angeles is an hour and a half to 2 hours south of us, which is just close enough to be convenient to get a lot of LA second home business and just far enough away to have LA be LA. I'm 35 years in the business. I was at the blue team for 24 years. I'm a recovering Coldwell Banker agent. 11 years here at KW, who taught me how to run a business and put a real team together, which I thought I was doing before I got here. Last year, I think we did 155 million-ish in about 72 deals. That makes us the number one team, certainly in the region. Certainly not for dollar volume in the Santa Barbara MLS. But yeah, there's a map of my area of coverage, if you can read that. So
So a really sweet price point you're dealing with, if I do the math correctly.
The MLS median price right now is hovering just under 2 million. But if you add Montecito and Hope Ranch, it would be well over that. I think Montecito, the median right now is in the 6s. So my team's average price point's probably in the 3.5 range.
Amazing. So, Steve, tell us a little bit about your team, how it's set up, and how many agents you have and how your team structure looks like.
So we have now a total of 10 people, 9 people are licensed. Our director of marketing is not licensed, but our director of operations is, and she's in production. Her first 6 months with a license did 3 listings that she sold. Wow. So her mother is a lender and her father's an appraiser. So she's getting some referral business. And knows the language of real estate. So we have a very non-MREA team structure. I don't have like buyer's agents. I don't believe in all of that. Everybody's a full functioning agent. The reason I call it the Epstein Partners is I want it to look like an accounting or a law firm. Nobody wants to work with a second stringer, right? I mean, a new lender gets a job at a bank and they make them a vice president day one, right? Because everybody wants to deal with the VP, right? I mean, seriously, they hand out VP cards like they're Jolly Rancher candies. So anyway, that's sort of our motto. We work very collaboratively. We're all doing our book of business. My MAPS coach says I pay the team way too much, but I don't want turnover. I want high functioning adults that get the value proposition of hanging out for a long time.
Okay, great. So what are your superpowers when it comes to luxury real estate? Where do you say, hey, this is where I'm really good at, and this is why people hire me?
Well, long before Brady was talking about the Ritz-Carlton, concierge level service model, we actually were putting in writing that we deliver concierge level service always. And sometimes people chuckle about that, or they think it's kind of canned, but nobody after dealing with us has said, wow, you didn't deliver on that, right? You didn't actually do all that. And I say that to people. I say, we're going to deliver concierge level service, and nobody's, after the fact, nobody's doubted that. So it seems really sort of oversimplified and basic, but the people I see that are really delivering service at a high level and really getting in relationship with their clients are the ones that are really successful. And I know that's harder to do if you're doing 300 or 400 deals a year. I talked to Josh Anderson from Nashville, and Kathrin, what is he doing? 700-800 deals a year?
Yeah.
And I've asked him, like, how do you stay in relationship with these people? And he goes, the way you do, we can't. Yeah. But staying in relationship with people is the best way to build your business, really, is deliver amazing service and then stay in relationship with those people.
So when you say you stay in relationship, what does that exactly mean? Because that's very broad. So tell us, like, specifically, give us a few examples on, like, what does it look like if I'm your like $10 million client, I just sold my home, and how do you stay engaged with me?
Well, it depends. Did you stay in the community or did you leave?
Well, I know that is a differentiating question, but even if I left, I would still know people in the community, right? So let's say I moved to LA, so 2 hours away.
Right. So for instance, you moved to LA, and assuming I have developed a social relationship with these people, and we often do, right? It's different because when we do very few transactions, right? So it's a lot easier. And I want to continue to make that point, because if you're doing 300 or 400 deals a year, there's not enough hours in the day to stay in relationship with those people, especially if you do that, if you're after 10 years, you have 3,000 or 4,000 people to stay in relationship with, that could be your only job. And maybe it should be. But for instance, Kathrin, to answer your question, they moved to LA. I'm going to go down and take him to dinner. LA has some great restaurants. You know, I'm down in LA all the time. My 91-year-old father lives down there. My brother's there. So I'm in LA once or twice a month. I'm going to, you know, get down there and take him to a dinner or, you know, a museum or a ball game, or just drop a gift off and just keep touching them.
Mm-hmm. And what if I if I just move within the community, how would that look like?
Well, that's a lot easier. You know, we do client events. I'm going to invite you to certain things. We have bifurcated client events somewhat, where we have some more exclusive ones and then some more broad-based ones. You know, we might buy the Maritime Museum in the harbor for a full day, and that's for we invite our clients, but it's free for the whole community, right? So that's kind of a cattle call. But for instance, we'll also rent a boat that holds 100 people and do a sushi booze cruise from 4 to 6. And the cool thing about that is, I think the total number we can have on the boat's 110. So it's very limiting. So that's sort of a more high-end luxury event that we really are hands-on with those people. And you could talk to everybody on the boat.
So
right?
Mark and Ivy would like to be invited to that next cruise.
You want the sushi booze cruise? The first one we did, the sushi chef turned it the same color as wasabi.
Oh my God.
You didn't handle the waves well, huh, Steve?
You know, it was a relatively calm thing. It's a big, huge powered channel catamaran thing. It's actually a whale watching boat that a friend of mine owns. And they do an amazing job finding whales, but it wasn't super rough. He just shouldn't have been on the ocean.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing here is, like, you know, you meet with them, you have face-to-face time with the clients, and you also do spend a significant amount of money. I mean, that can't be cheap to rent a boat like that.
No, it's not cheap, but client events are great. And that there's nothing better than 100 people that are the top members of your fan club sitting around talking about how wonderful their experience was with you or your team, right? There's a synergy there. And then they leave and they're sort of refreshed with, wow, you know, I had a great experience. That wasn't a one-off. Everybody else I spoke to, you know, were singing their praises. I mean, that the trickle down from those types of things, as we all know, is amazing.
And then how far in advance do you plan those events?
We are probably booking the boat 120 days out. And then we're probably doing a save the date 90 days out, and invitations or a reminder 60, invitations maybe 30 to 45, 30 days out. Santa Barbara seems to be a very spontaneous community. I was in the entertainment and concert business here for years, and you know, people around here don't seem to do things till the last minute. So,
wow, 120 days. That's quite a time commitment.
well, you got to book the boat for sure.
Yeah.
Make sure you have the night. Then you can rest for a little while.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So
then
Steve,
hope the weather cooperates, right?
That's right. Yeah. You keep this relationship. You also have some tips you want to share with us about having the relationship so you're not that pushy person, right? Can you kind of walk us through some of that?
Everything we do is very understated. We can't, don't be that person. Thank you. Boy, whoever's doing Kathrin, whoever's doing this, man, I feel like I'm on the news. I should be doing the weather or something, you know? Yeah, don't be that person. You've just got to, I did a whole thing years ago, 25, 30 years ago, I did a whole 2-day seminar on mirroring people, right? And if you haven't done that, if you haven't really studied that and neuro-linguistic programming and all of that stuff, it's really valuable. Like, I tend to speak really quickly. So if I get with somebody that's speaking very slowly, I can do it, but it's painful. Because, high D, like, let's get it done, unlike Kathrin, who is super chill. But it's just a matter of figuring out what they're about, right? If they're socially introverted, they're not going to want to go to a concert with us, or they're not going to want to go out and do, they're going to be more like, hey, do you have time for a really nice bottle of wine? I'll bring a bottle of wine over. We'll have some cheese and crackers and get caught up. So it's just a matter of understanding them. But for instance, I don't carry business cards when I meet new people. I literally do not. I don't know if you can see it. This is my wallet. It's just nothing ever focuses on this. And that's part of a technique. I mean, sure, I have them in my car, in my briefcase, but I don't carry cards, but can I get your information? Right. And it's just low key. You're not forcing a card on somebody. When I got in the business a million years ago, I went to a seminar and the guy said, I can't remember what his name was. It was Steve somebody or other. And he's handing out pins that said, buy from me or get out of my car. And I was like, wow. I'm not kidding. I'm not making that up. Anyway, he's saying, look, carry a fat stack of business cards and everybody you meet, press a card in their hand and ask them who they know that wants to buy or sell real estate. And I'm in the back with my yellow pad going, don't carry cards. Don't press them in people's hands. Don't ask, don't do any of that. Because that doesn't work in our community. And it might.
I think what you're saying is very important because I think there's like different ways to do business for different personalities. And since you're working with so high net worth individuals, they don't want to be sold. I think giving everyone a business card works in certain markets, but the high-end luxury I've experienced, it doesn't work either. So I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, it's whatever has allowed these people to amass the money to buy luxury real estate, unless they're just a trust funder or they, or a young rock star that just hit it rich, chances are they've got a high functioning level. There's some acumen there, and nobody else in their orbit is being pushy with them or really forward. It's sort of a pulled back thing. So yes.
But you do write in the guides that that you sent us, you also write that some of those high net worth individuals, they are very accomplished, but some of them do not understand real estate that well. So tell us a little bit about that and how to deal with that.
Well, yeah, no, it's actually crazy. But if you take, for instance, a young musician who's just come into a lot of money, or a sports person, I think they're finally training sports people how not to be just ridiculously stupid with their money. Because I don't know if you know this, but I think the average NFL player is bankrupt within 7 years of retiring.
Wow.
Or something like that. So they're finally like, wow, you made $1 bazillion and you just partied like a rock star for 15 years and then you retired and now you have nothing. So yeah, some of these people don't, especially artists, right? They're just in a different part of their brain. If they made their money, if you run into a young Elon Musk, they're probably pretty high functioning in business. Although based on some of his choices, I'm not always sure. Not sure the Twitter deal was the smartest thing in the world. But that's some serious money there. But the good news, Kathrin, is most of these people have handlers. Mm-hmm. I've got Fergie's house listed right now. I do speak with her occasionally, but I think I've spoken with her 2 or 3 times in the course of this listing. It's been business managers, personal assistants. So, and that's a whole nother breed. That's a whole nother seminar.
There is another tip on your presentation. It says, do not fawn over famous people. And it's something I see a lot. Agents do business with a celebrity and they post a picture with them on social media. Tell us what you think about that and how you would handle that.
I think that's about agent egos. I don't think that's about serving their client. By the way, we just hired a company called Cision to promote the fact we're selling Fergie's house at her request.
Oh.
Because normally, when we first listed the house, because nobody on her side of the deal was ever using the word Fergie, it was always her. Never mentioned her name. We all know who owns the house, but it was she. It was like Voldemort. It's like she who shall not be named. So we just didn't say her name. And then the conversation came up like, might we do better if they knew it was a celebrity home? And I can tell you, since Ellen DeGeneres flips houses in Montecito sometimes monthly, and I think she does really well because it was her home, in spite of her wonderful personality, which has all come to light for those who didn't know. So they decided to take a change in direction and really promote that it's her house and see if that helps. That is unusual. Mm-hmm. But I came from the entertainment business. I was primarily in the music business as part of my career. And, people who know, like, hey, do you get autographs? Do you get them to sign records or CDs? Or do you get them? Like, no, we do not. We do none of that. We treat them like regular people because they're regular people. What's weird is, like, I got off a Zoom with Fergie and my director of operations was in the room, and she said, wow, she's so nice. And the sad thing is, it's shocking that somebody who's famous might be nice. you know, and it's like, that's always what people say. Well, she's so nice. There are jerks in every profession.
Yeah.
I've been called a jerk. Imagine that.
But I think it also helps that you come from the business. So you're used to being among celebrities, and it's like pretty normal for you to hang out with them. Don't you think?
Maybe, but here's what, if you really hang out, especially with rock stars, most of them are completely useless at everything in their life except going on stage and playing a guitar or singing. Right?
Exactly.
They literally cannot.
Our help.
They could not change a flat. I mean, they just can't. They couldn't do, you know, they couldn't balance a checkbook or change a flat or do life. Right? Most of them
they live in their own bubble, and this is why I love so much about what you're saying, because I feel you really understand those people. They live in a different world. They are in a different sphere, and to understand them is so important, because really, like you said, they don't even know how to use a tool.
No, they have, everything's taken care of for them. Every door is open, and you know, that's not helping anybody. You know, I raised 2 daughters. I'm like, you know, you guys need to know how to change a flat.
Yeah.
And you have an auto club card, but guess
Maybe
what?
You should start a class, Steve.
If you don't have cell coverage, the auto club's not coming to change your flat.
Yeah.
You could do a first-time homebuyer seminar, Steve, and how to change flats at the same time.
Exactly.
I think to graduate from high school, you should be able to change a flat, tie a bowline, do no CPR, for crying out loud. Why do kids not learn CPR? I mean, what the hell?
Yeah.
Anyway, don't get me going.
Steve,
What about finding the business, Steve? Where do you find the business?
Well, that's actually a whole, actually, I think we're in that presentation. So I personally follow passions. So I'm on 11 boards, nonprofit boards and committees right now. So some of that deals with homelessness. Some of that deals with a maritime museum. I'm a member of a yacht club. I'm a member of a university club, but I ride motorcycles, I fly planes, I ski, I offshore race sailboats. I occasionally go do shark dives offshore. So all of these fun things that I really am passionate about are filled with other people, and a lot of them are high net worth individuals, right? Like, I don't own an airplane, but the average pilot probably isn't broke, right? It's not a poor person's hobby. And so look, if golf's your thing, and it's not mine, but if golf's your thing, you should probably be playing golf once or twice a week, and make sure you're playing with different people. Don't get into a foursome that plays every week. You know, you need to spread out of that and change it up. It's sort of like when I used to go to Coldwell Banker events, like awards things. We'd go down to LA and they'd go, there's the Montecito table. And I'd be like, I don't sit with these people. I don't eat with these people in Santa Barbara. Why would I drive 100 miles and eat with people from my market center or my office? So
very smart.
And if you're into sailing, for instance, and you don't own a boat, show up at the yacht club and say, who's looking for crew? Right? There's plenty of people that race out of our yacht club that aren't even members of the yacht club and don't own a boat. But after the race, they're not kicked out of the yacht club. They go to the yacht club and have a drink and a burger like everybody else. So whatever it is, right? I just happen to have leaned into nonprofits, and then the stuff that's my passion. I also play in a band, right? So
it looks like you're pouring into the community and doing a lot of things that you like, and then naturally you attract your clients like a magnet. Someone in our audience is asking, and I was thinking the same, how do you find time to do all of that, Steve?
And change tires.
I
can't remember the last time I changed a tire. Well, that's not entirely true, but I don't sleep. Like Kathrin, I'm up all night. Look, my kids, I was a single dad up until my kids went off to college. I have 2 girls in college. So, I didn't do quite as much of this. I wasn't on 11 boards when I was raising 2 girls as a single dad. But I'm passionate about it. And by the way, it doesn't feel like work if you're sailing with a bunch of potential clients, right? You're in conversation, you're out on the ocean, and you're working together as a team to sail a boat. That doesn't feel like work to me. I feel like my job is recreation based.
Mhm.
Oh, by the way, I have an amazing leverage. I have a great director of operations, I have a great marketing person, and I've got a team of agents. So if I'm on the boat and somebody goes, hey, we really want to get into this house, sorry, it's really spontaneous, I've got somebody who can go do that. So you've got to get some leverage. I don't care what it is. You have to have some leverage, even if you're in the business a year.
Yeah.
You have
So
to.
we've got a whole list of interests there, Steve, which are great and great things that people can look for. You said nonprofits. You also talk about politicians and being, a resource for local news. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I had the benefit early on of selling a house to a couple of anchors that relocated from the San Diego market to Santa Barbara, which you could argue is a step down for them professionally, but they also had a couple of daughters and they wanted to get to a small town and raise their kids. And I became a resource. And by the way, you can contact your local. We happen to be a local ABC affiliate. Oh, there they are. There's Paul. The guy in the glasses down there is my congressman, who I'm very close with. And the guy on the other one is one of the main news guys for the local TV station. So you want to become a resource for these people so they know they can call you short term, because usually what they're doing is they're putting together what's called a packet for the evening news, right? And for instance, I remember once there was a big asbestos scare and people were becoming aware of asbestos in the 90s. And they said, hey, can you go on camera for a minute or two and kind of talk about the practical application of real estate specific to asbestos? So they literally either want you to run to the station or they run over to you. They ask you 3 or 4 questions. You're a talking head on the camera, and then you're on the evening news. So it's free advertising. People don't reach out to them and say, hey, look, I've got a lot of expertise in local real estate here or whatever else it is. Yeah. I started a group during COVID called ROAR, which is Reopen Arts Responsibly. We started a Facebook page, and we're trying to promote live music events in a safe and cautious way so that musicians and artists didn't starve to death. And that they did a news piece on me. The guy in the bottom left there did a news piece on that. And it was no big deal to start a Facebook page and alert a few people and say, hey, we're doing this. We'd appreciate, and then they picked it up. The politician thing, you've got to be careful with. The region I live in is very clearly on one side of the aisle, pretty much across the board. So it's a little safer here. We're not nearly as divisive in this community as some are. So I would just say tread lightly on that. I don't post a lot of pictures of myself with politicians. I don't make political posts on Facebook. I might agree with one on somebody else's page, but I'm not initiating them. You could step on that and never scrape it off your shoe.
Yeah, well, it's 50-50, right? The country split 50-50. So once you take a side, you're not part of it. Yeah,
it's 90-10 here.
Yeah. But you're just saying, be aware of that. Be aware of political.
Be careful.
lines.
Be careful.
You talk about attire and kind of the way you present yourself. What would you tell us about the way you present yourself?
Well, I mean, look, you can see me in the bottom left picture there, and I think I was out there actually shooting a video on the pier. But today I'm in a resort shirt and Levi's and Huaraches, because I work in a resort community like most of you. It's not fancy here. And, today it's going to be in the high 70s, probably not wholly unlike your market. So, if I don't have to, I'm not wearing socks. When I got in the business, I was wearing an Italian suit every day. And then I realized I'm the only goon in a suit. I was looking around at my bankers don't. When I go to American Riviera Bank here, they're in polo shirts and khakis. They look like Jake from State Farm. So, the attorneys aren't wearing suits here anymore. So you have to dress for your community. But, look, it's very casual here, and you guys are in a resort market. I'm guessing it's pretty casual where you are as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, much of it.
Steve, there is something I want to touch, especially since we have career visioning coming up with Mark soon. So you said to me that one of your recipes for success is that you know how to hire right. Tell us a little bit about that.
You know how I know how to hire right? I did a lot of wrong hiring. I have done career visioning. I've only done it once. And my takeaway was, oh my God, I don't think I can go through, 20 days of torturing somebody to see if they're a good fit. but I did develop a little better spidey sense, if you will. I used to be able to think I could bring anybody into the business and make them a high functioning, top producing real estate agent. And I could not have been more wrong if I had tried. I would say the KPA is a really good tool, but it's just one tool in the tool belt. My director of operations, who is just an insane rock star, and I've known her. I held her the day she was born in the hospital, so I've known her a while. I'm just showing you how old I am by saying stuff like that. She was born 4 days away from my daughter, and I was friends with her parents, so we were all in the hospital having tax deductions. So her KPA said she would not be a good director of operations. Did not score highly for that. And her whole thing was, I want a job. So she just graduated from college, and she goes, I want a job so I can start paying student loans, but I do want to transition into a full production real estate agent. And, she's done some deals, but I think she really likes this job. And I think she likes the hybrid that she can do 3 or 4 deals a year and still be our director of operations. So the KPA is not everything, but it's usually close. I didn't even know about the KPA before I got here, and I took it after I'd been at KW for a year or two, and I think it nailed me. But I'm really looking for energetic, dynamic, focused, and a little bit hungry people that get it. And then, there's a KPA, there's several interviews. I don't just add people to my team to add them to my team at all. I get people ask all the time, and they're rarely a good fit. And that's the other thing I look at, is because we really do work so collaboratively, I really put a lot of trying to understand if they're going to play well with others, I guess, is, if the sandbox is going to be a friendly place. Because if it's not, it'll start to take apart your organization at the seams.
And where do you typically find those people? Like, what careers or jobs do they come from?
It's crazy. Disproportionately, it's past clients. You guys already have a database of talent. You already have it. There are people you've sold homes to. There's people who bought homes from you. I had an agent that came out of the music business. He owned a high-end boutique guitar store. I was a client of his for years, probably spent hundreds of thousands of dollars with him. He took amazing care of me, treated me like, I could walk into his shop and look at a $5,000 guitar, and he'd say, why don't you take it home tonight and see how you like it? Call me tomorrow. Let me know what you think.
That's awesome.
Who does that? Guess what? That guitar almost never went back to him. The call in the morning was, here's my Amex. So I had a guy out of high tech. He worked for internet startups, knew how to work long hours, right? I had a guy who used to run all of the retail at Pebble Beach. So he had a staff of, I think, about 110 people, because it was the pro shop and the hot dog stand and the ice cream, it was everything at Pebble Beach. So it's been all over the map. 2 guys out of Ford sales, car salespeople.
Wow.
Well, if they're not, I don't know you all well enough to say this, but if they're not all leg humpers, like a dog that attacks you at the car lot, Angela liked that one. They know how to take care of people. They know how to engage them. Both of those guys said, yeah, I had guys that would come back every year or two and buy another $100,000 truck from me. So if you can do that, why can't you sell $5 million homes?
Well, they understand customer service, right? Is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And
one of those guys was the front desk manager at the local Ritz before he went to Ford.
Wow. Yeah. So you've got a culture, and that's the person you're looking for, is the person that matches your culture and what you do.
Right. And plays well with the other people on the team.
Yeah.
I had another guy that sold Zoom during COVID, which is probably like selling, jackets to Eskimos, but, he was on the phone 10 hours a day selling Zoom to big companies.
Amazing.
Not afraid to work the phone.
Right. Yeah. Same skill set. So you've got culture. And then how does that play into your branding? You said it's important to have a luxury all over your branding. Can you tell us about that?
I would suggest to everybody that if you make everything you do, oh, I missed that little Ford hot rod, damn it. If you, that was that Border Collie's first plane ride, by the way. If you make everything you do look like luxury, even if it's not, for instance, a luxury listing, then people start thinking of you that way, right? Like we use the same photographer, whether it's a $500,000 condo, if you could find that here, or a $5 million home. It's the same photographer. He takes fewer pictures because it's a smaller place. We'd still do the virtual tour. We still do a video. We still put it together beautifully with all of our branding and all of our colors and our logos, and it's consistent throughout the brand. And it all looks like luxury, right? And here's the thing. If we go to get a low-end listing and we show them a bunch of luxury stuff, I mean, not uber luxury, most people don't say, well, are you interested in my listing because you're doing all this high-end work? They're flattered that, you know, you're going to bring them into that sphere, right?
Yeah.
They don't care.
And you, Steve, you had shared.
Diane needs to be muted.
Really focusing on that.
So you shared with me that you don't do always necessarily the marketing for the current listing, but for the business to come, right? Especially during the last 2 years where everything sold so quickly. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you know, you hit it right on the head, Kathrin. I mean, during COVID, you know, we had this ridiculous influx, and I think you guys probably did too, but we had this ridiculous influx of San Francisco Bay Area, Google and Apple money, what we call funny money or monopoly money. It's young people that just, you know, are making, it's just like make it rain, you know? And my team was like, you know, why are we waiting to roll this listing out and waiting for the video and the floor plan guy? You know, it's going to sell in 2 minutes with 30 offers for 20% over what we asked. And I said, first of all, I want to collect this collateral so the next time we're in this neighborhood, we can say we did this for your neighbor's home, right? We have a huge vertical file cabinet full of, you know, high-end flyers, for instance. It's one of the few things we still do in print, but lookbooks, right? And before I go to each listing presentation, I pull flyers from that neighborhood or that type of property, right? I mean, if it's a vineyard property, I pull everything I've done that had a vineyard on it. If it's a horse property, we do that. So, and it's subtle, but we also bake that into the listing presentation. Like all of the images in the listing presentation for that property would be appropriate for that property. But we're doing it to get the next listing. And it goes to circle prospecting. If you're not focused on monetizing every bit of business you have into at least 1, 2, or 3 more pieces of business, you're leaving money on the table, right? If you sell a listing and you have not done any circle prospecting and then you go hustle to get the next listing, you're working 10 times harder than you need to. If you get a new listing, you need to have somebody on your team walk that neighborhood, hand out 50 or 100 flyers saying, hey, we're having a broker's open tomorrow at 10, but at 9 o'clock, we're opening for the neighbors before the craziness happens. We'd like to personally invite you, you know, or if you can do an evening wine and cheese thing or something. All the neighbors want to see the house and they're all interviewing you as a listing agent. And that's so much easier than going and getting new business. That's already business that you can attract off of your listing or your sale.
Totally agree with you on that. And since we're talking about listing presentation, Steve, I know we don't have all too much time left, but if you can just maybe highlight a few pages of your marketing presentation for the audience, because I think your marketing presentation is amazing.
Do you have it queued up or do you want me to grab it on my
No, I
end?
want you to grab yours.
All right, hold on. Let me minimize this window. And I have it queued up on a, I have it queued up on a PDF here, and then I'll do a screen share. Funding your business. Okay, so that's a generic one. And I will do screen and share and make this bigger. Thank you. All right, so this was actually a house. I think Kenny Loggins owned this at one point. Kind of a weird house, but that's what you might expect. So, you know, I always thank people for inviting me to the party and I tell them what we're going to talk about. By the way, before I go to their house to do this, or when I start, I say, hey, you know, we have an amazing story. You're going to love hearing it. And I know that sounds weird, but if you go back and look at the first Star Wars movie, I think it was the first Star Wars movie, and they're coming into that village and they come up and they say, these aren't the droids you're looking for. And the guy turns to the other one and says, these aren't the droids we're looking for. You can tell people how to think, right? So I tell them I have an amazing listing presentation. They're going to love it. And they go, honey, we're going to love this. I'm not kidding. It works. All right. There's the team, the brains of the operations, the border collie down front there. By the way, I do this on their TV or their projector. I did one yesterday that was literally, I think it was 10 or 12 feet high. It was shockingly scary. But on an iPad, I can, or a touchscreen laptop, I can zoom in on any word or any image I want and control what they see. Right?
Right.
So I might joke and go, here's the brains of the operation, and zoom in on the border collie. Now, that's not everybody here. This was during COVID. As you can see, we were all spaced out. By the way, I had a client say, what are you doing off to the left? I thought this guy in the middle was you when you first sent me. We have a seller book that has this image. And I said, it's not about just me, being the grand poobah and then a bunch of minions, right? We're all high functioning folks here. So I talk about the team a little bit here, what we offer. I tell them we're highly effective. We're master negotiation. That should be named master negotiation negotiators. There's a typo I found. And here we go. We're talking about delivering concierge level service. Always. I lead with this. And they're like, well, what does that mean? By the way, what that means is if it's legal or ethical, we'll do it for you. I don't care what it is. I've had people on my team scrub toilets. We don't care. We're not proud. We have to do something. We're going to do it.
I like that. Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. So I strongly suggest that you put a realtor questionnaire together. So let's say you're meeting with a doctor. He's an orthopedic surgeon, or she's an orthopedic surgeon. And you say, look, I wouldn't know how to hire an orthopedic surgeon. I would say, well, where'd you go to college? Do you have a medical degree? Are you an orthopedist? I mean, I have 3 questions and then I'm out of gas on that. I don't know what to ask. Why do we expect that the consumer of our services know how to hire us? So I tell them how to hire us. And then I'll even joke and say, we ask a lot of questions, there's a lot of questions in here that make us look really good, but there's still questions I'd want answered if I was going to hire a real estate agent. How long have you been in the business? Do you work full time? How many transactions have you done? What's your annual marketing budget? We're pushing $400,000 annually. Not many people can say that.
Mm-hmm.
What's your average sale price to list price ratio? So on and on it goes, right? But put something like this together so you tell them how to hire. By the way, the other thing I do, if they'll let me, from the iPad in real time, I'll pull up my stats for the last 5 or 10 years and show it to them. And I'll say, anybody else you'd like to run in here since we're on the MLS and it's a level playing field? I'm not going to disparage other realtors, but if they're talking, I was working on a $3.5 million listing and they said, we're talking to this guy. He does a lot of business in this neighborhood. The guy had done 10 deals in his career and 4 of them had been in that neighborhood. So in their mind, he was the neighborhood expert and he was experienced. And they're like,
yeah, well, he probably used the stats to say 40% of my business is done in this neighborhood. I like to concentrate.
And that's not a lie.
And that's not a lie. Yeah.
By the way, before you have big stats, make it make it your office, make it your region. We're doing this. That's not disingenuous.
Make it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it. Thank you. Then I always pause here and say, look, what's most important to you? Make it about them. I used to do this presentation and occasionally I'd get to the end and people said, all you did was talk about you and your company. And I'm thinking, well, I'm interviewing for a job. I'm not going to spend the whole time talking about you, but people do want you to talk about them.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes, everybody says I want the most money for my property, but some people say, look, I want a lot of communication. I want to know about every showing. I want a lot of feedback. Other people are like, please don't bug me. Just let me know where I can pick up my check. So I would always pause and make sure that you're getting their input. Everybody wants to know differentiation. How are you different from the other 1,400 real estate agents in this area? And by the way, we have 1,400 real estate agents serving a population of 200,000 people. So those are, and of those people, a lot of them are, seniors living in senior living, and a lot of them are college students who aren't buying and selling houses. So there's like an agent for every, 3 people. We advertise every property every day until it's sold. We just tell them, we're not going to ever let up on that. Escrows fail occasionally. I'm available 24/7. People don't abuse it. So we talk about how we're different. It's kind of a value prop. Have some testimonials. If they want more, I'll send them hundreds and hundreds electronically. Local awards and designations. They don't care about that. Community impact, they do care about. How are you giving back? I'm actually the chair of a few of these. And then how are you performing against your MLS? You know, when we ran this, we were selling things at 106% of asking. Market was running just under 100%. And we were at 7 days versus the market at 43. So we're outperforming the market. Map of a few properties we've sold in the region. Can't see the region. I don't spend a ton of time talking about KW. I just let them know that we're the world's largest company. We're pushing 200,000 agents in over 50 countries. But I do talk about how we can leverage that. So case in point, I will get into the lore a little bit, but oh, maybe it's not in here. Do we not have it in here? I did a thing. I was working on a $85 million polo property, and I pinged all of the luxury ambassadors and all the luxury agents around the world and said, who is in a polo community, who lives near a polo community, who knows listing presentation, because I don't know how many people responded in 24 hours. A
You
lot.
texted me too. I
know.
remember.
Oh, I know. You were one of the first. You were one of the first, because I figured for sure there's no shortage of polo in Florida. I know for a fact there's a lot of polo in Florida, and I put that in the listing presentation. I said, you know, we're not going to just put a sign in front of your property and put it in the MLS and Zillow. We're going to actually go find the buyer. So I do talk about listing syndication here. I think I covered that. Then I tell them a lot of people don't understand the process, and it's a 3-tiered process. And I go through that preparation, once we're on the market, and the closing. And then I'll elaborate on any of these, elaborate on them. I really follow their lead. If they want to drill down, I drill down. Otherwise I keep moving. Pre-marketing, I go through everything we're going to do for them. Photography, you know, everything has to look perfect. Anything short of perfect just doesn't work. It's got to, you know, it's got to look the best it can. Virtual staging. This was a $5 million REO with Chase Bank. I'm so sorry you can't see the wall behind that bed. It was about the ugliest mural I've ever seen in my life. But if we need virtual staging, I show them an example. We do great floor plans with color and texture. And these aren't cheap. This guy charges by the square foot, but you got to do this. And then in the presentation, if they click on these, it'll go to these videos. You can see the link there. We actually landed a helicopter in the front yard of this place. Guy almost hit the drone. There's almost a fist fight over that. Virtual tours. It's funny. We owned our own virtual tour equipment before the pandemic. Suddenly everyone's like, hey, we're doing virtual tours. And then I try to bring a copy of the lookbook, because it just doesn't translate well to say, well, here's what the lookbook looks like. When you get the heavy cardstock full color thing in your hand, it's a different animal, right? Mailing campaign, property. We created an individual property website for every property. It's inexpensive. People are like, you're going to create a website for me? Like, yep. And then we drive everything we can to that because we can capture them. We talk about MailChimp and our email campaign. We belong to Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, and San Diego MLSs. Property showings. This was a catered open house. You know, the Zillow posting. I can't see what that says. Reviews are critical, guys. Right at this time, we had 85-star reviews on Zillow. That helps.
Wow.
By the way, this was a competitive property on Zillow at the time. Our $10 million listing had 785 views. The $11 million listing almost next door only had less than 200 views. So when you get stats like these, brag about them. I can't zoom in on this, but this is actually our Brivity database. And at the time, I think there was probably 10 or 11,000 people in it. So I talk about reverse prospecting. This had 10,132. I think we're over 11 now. So I talk about reverse prospecting. Nobody's talking to them about this. Nobody's talking about how they're going to actually go out and find the buyer. They're just going to put it in the MLS and put a sign in front of it, right? Social media. We've sold multi-million-dollar properties off of targeted Facebook posts. Don't do a ton of print. Oh, this is the property right here where I compared the other two agents they were talking to, and they signed immediately. But we do some print advertising. It's more for us. Frankly, it's more, I call it, you know, ego stuff. It's more name recognition for us. The problem with print, though, is if we put in the website, looking to see if it's in any of these. If we put in the individual property website in the paper, we don't know that they don't go there, and that's how they found it, is from print, right?
Mm-hmm.
So exactly. you have to do everything, because you don't know where they're going to find you.
Steve, real quick, our audience is asking if we get a copy of that listing presentation since we're now a little bit short in time.
No problem.
You share that? Okay.
I will. And the last thing in this is the 180 steps we do to sell your home. And I don't go through this whole thing, but again, we've done a horrible job of telling our clients what we do for them. And of the 180 steps, 150 apply to most properties. So once you let them know the stuff you're doing, got some satisfied clients back here, and then a thank you. But yes, Kathrin, you actually have this. So if you want to distribute it, it's fine. I'm happy to do it otherwise too. By the way, a couple people in the chat, I was trying not to read the chat while I was doing this, asked for my information. I'm Steve at the EpsteinPartners.com. Well, actually, it's right here in front of you.
Yeah.
I didn't rattle it all off, and I realized I'm on the last slide. That's my email. That's our website. That's my cell. Feel free to call me. I'm happy to help. This company, like none other I've been with, is amazing at pouring into each other. And so because so many people have done it for me, I make a point of continuing to pay it along.
Thank you so much, Steve. This was really insightful and amazing. Mark, do you have any other questions?
No, I think this was terrific, Steve. Again, thank you for your time. Congratulations on all your success. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Being included in your letting me pollute your meeting. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we enjoyed it. Well, we look forward to seeing you again at the next KW event.
Thank you.
There is Steve's information. If you want more information to contact him, you can see Steve's got an amazing business, and we appreciate him sharing that stuff. Ariel, make sure you get all the material that we talked about in the call. Kathrin, a couple of other notes. As we wrap up, we've got Mastermind Your Budget Model coming up on October 26th at 1 o'clock. So want to make sure everyone knows about that and marks their calendar for that. And then our next Mastermind meeting will be before Thanksgiving, November 15th. Mark it on your calendar. It's a Tuesday at 1 o'clock, and that is open to all agents.
Exactly. And then you have a great workshop coming up. We just spoke about that, career visioning, on the 26th.
Yeah, and Steve talked about the KPA being only a part of it, and he's absolutely right. It's a part of it, right? So we'll talk about the KPA piece. We'll talk about the value of references. We'll talk about the value of a track record and a life story, and then the value of understanding where people want to go in the future, and then kind of fitting all those pieces together. Steve apparently, by all accounts, what he's sharing does a great job of melding people because he's clear on what he wants his organization to be like and do. And so he matches personnel up in a great way, and he's had great success.
Exactly.
So we want to encourage people to join us. Yeah.
Absolutely.
On the 26th. So, okay. Is that it, Ariel? Do we have anything else? Or I think we're just going to say thank you for being here today. And Kathrin, thank you for lining up Steve and taking us through. Very welcome.
Thank you all for staying a little bit longer, but I think it was worth staying on because it was amazing information from Steve.
Sorry to ramble on.
No, we loved it, Steve. It was great to
have it was amazing. I took so much away.
Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you being here. If we can do anything for you, shoot us a text or an email here at the Region. And Kathrin, we'll see you again soon as well.
See you soon.
Thank
Thanks.
you all. We'll see you.
So let me show it. You are exactly